Alright, big guy. Alright, that's pretty free. Ah, kind of nice to not stack up Enlightenment for once. They just play a build. Hey guys, Lurkin here from Mobalytics. So first off, yes, Combustion is bugged. It's giving us 10x the damage we're supposed to. 2, no, it's not going to get patched. It's not causing any server issues, and it's not game breaking in any way in terms of balance. It's capping around a 110 pit, etc., etc. But we're getting 10 times damage we're supposed to out of Combustion. Inferno is really dope to play, and you can basically just Giga Spam Inferno and shred enemies. I've got a really comfy, tanky, amazing setup for it. Got a Pit 100 to showcase. Thanks for stopping by. And this is a Shaco version. Don't bother with this Verglas crap. I'll get into it later, but just trust me, the Shaco is just so much comfier, so much better, and the Ale of Verglas requires a really intricate macro, and I can't really endorse that. Some credits and acknowledgement to Roxy and Hysteria. Check them out on YouTube. They do extremely good pit pushing builds, very specialized. They're in the pit, no macros, no nothing. They're raw dogging it. Got a lot of respect for them. Their build's very similar to mine. I don't care which planner you use. Their build's very similar. It's just a little more damage oriented, just a couple small things. I can't recommend them enough. So I took some aspiration from talking with them in DMs and stuff to fine tune my build to where it is now. So thank you. So what the fuck's going on with Combustion? Why is it, 7,000, 7,500%? Why am I seeing screenshots of it at 10,000? And the reason being is that Combustion normally only scaled with damage to burning and damage with burning. But as of a patch, about a week ago on May 12th, May 14th, whatever the hell it was, it started scaling with damage over time, which are fixes that we can get. We get it on our ring, our gloves, we can get a large amount on our staff. It can't be tempered, but it's just fixes. Problem in the past with Combustion was, it only capped around 750 or 800%, which honestly wasn't enough for burning builds because they can't crit, they can't overpower, fucking slow. So now that they're 10 times, so you're getting 10 times the damage that you're supposed to, and that's why they finally feel good, because that's Sorc. It's just 10x the damage. It's just, most builds are just 10x damage away from not feeling like giant pieces of shit. So all it took was a bug to make this build relevant and to do a 108, a 110, a 111, to keep up with the top meta. It was 10x damage. That's how far it was behind. I digress. So here are the things that are scaling it. The first is our Incinerate enchantment with the aspect of Conflagration. As we can see, we're at 7,400. If we take off Incinerate enchantment, it goes down to 5,900. Let's put that bad boy back on. The second is these damage over time affixes. So let's take off these gloves. That's the only aspect that scales it, by the way. None of these do. But let's take off these gloves. And, oh, we're down to 6,000. So we lost a lot from losing that damage over time affix. And I could inflate this number a lot higher. The masterwork crits on damage over time are very important. I don't got it in me, boss. I'm not tripling a pair of gloves for a build I'm going to play for a little bit. But if you really want to take this to the next level, you got to hit those damage over time crits. It's very important. And that's why, the staff has a double and then a single. All right, so we've gone over damage over time. We've gone over Incinerate enchantment with the aspect of Conflagration on the staff. So what's next? Let's go to our Paragon. Let's take off Burning Instinct. This normally always works, and it does right now. Let's go back into our skill tree. Oh, we're down to 5,900 from our 7,400. All right, let's put that back on. All right, let's take off our Torch Glyph. What are we at now? We were at 74. Ooh, now we're at 2,100. Torch, as you can see, when Incinerate enchantment activates again, our bonus goes back up. But Torch is probably the biggest single scaler of it. And then next is our Flame Feeder Glyph. Let's take that off. Down to 4,000. So it's just all these little things. It's all these things coming together that are multiplying into each other. So, normally you saw 800%, and that's in a Flame Feeder Torch setup with Incinerate enchantment with aspect of Conflagration. That's our base. The only thing that's bugged is this Pyromancy attack speed. Sorry. It's this damage over time. So that's like what sent it over the fucking edge. Yeah. Alright, so I just want to get this one out of the way. I like the Harlequin Crest version way better than the Ale of Verglas. Shaco is just amazing. Provides a solid amount of damage. It solves all your cooldown, your max life, everything. It's just the GOAT. The Ale of Verglas, yes, it is double damage. But what it does to the build, it makes it not feel good. You have to give up either Ice Armor or Flame Shield for it. Then you have to create an intricate macro that weaves in the Ice Shard casts into your build because it's too cumbersome to keep up. There's too much shit going on. It tanks your cooldown so that you need really crazy masterworks to make it work. And you lose so much DR and max life that you're squishy. I put on the Ale of Verglas. I got about 45 seconds into a pit, and I was immediately blown up by the lightning auras, the lightning affixes from the snakes. I just got fucking nuked by snakes. No, not worth it for an extra pit tier. I'm good. All right, so now that we've gotten El Verglas out of the way, no, not you, Seamus. We're gonna go over to our Shaco, which is just the goat, the CDR, the armor, and the max life makes us so tanky, solves all our cooldown issues, gives us +4 ranks to all skills, and then we combine that with Seer Vex, we get an additional 3 ranks. So just this package right here, we get 7 ranks to Inferno, and Inferno ranks are really difficult to come by because it's an ultimate skill. Because Inferno groups enemies and pulls for us, we don't need Raiment, which is another item that makes us really squishy. So we can run Shroud of False Death, an item that makes us incredibly tanky. That's due to the max life, and then the all stats are nothing to scoff at either. Gives us a lot of intelligence, and it solves all our Paragon wrecks. Here is where you run Zan Quacks. Casting an ult skill 3 times, it'll spend all your resource, and then the build is really easy on mana because it's got a lucky hit chance to restore roll here. And when you have firewalls out, it's going to increase your mana regen. So getting the mana back is no issue, and your firewalls will be free to cast because during Inferno, all your pyromancy skills are free. A side thing here about Quacks is it's important for proccing Mana Shield. You get 40% DR, it counts for it. So it's just like, all these different fucking layers. Daddy Lurkin, he's got you. He's going to make the tankiest goddamn build in the that also does good damage. So that's why Shroud of False Death it is. There's no replacement. Besides maybe Tyrael's, if whatever. Alright, so Int, damage over time, lucky hit chance to restore. You could sub Int for attack speed if you had those, but I don't think it's really needed because this build is stacking so many pyromancy attack speed tempers that we're good. The utility tempers are going to be crowd control duration on both the gloves and the pants, and that's so we can use a Flesh Reaper boss power. You put Engulfing Flames here. It's 30% increased burning damage to enemies that are not healthy. That's below 85% life. And then enemies take 9% more burning damage for each second, up to 45%. This doesn't go on the amulet because only that 30% scales. We have better options. I like Snowveiled because we don't have teleport on the skill bar. Snowveiled gives us an unstoppable and a bunch of DR. Int max life, and then you could take armor, you could take all resist, but these are just the pants that everybody has. Int max life armor, there's really nothing else to take. But another CC duration temper for our Flesh Reaper power, and then Frost Nova CDR. You can take Frost Nova CDR or you can take Ice Armor duration depending on what your build needs. But once you're in it, once you got good stuff going, you're gonna want the Frost Nova cooldown reduction, so you can get it down to like almost 4 seconds, and then we cast a few skills, and we look at it, and it's down to 4.08. So we're big chilling there. Flicker Steps, the most important thing on here. There's only 2 important things on here. It's the 4-second cooldown reduction and the ultimate damage, and then a bonus would be DR close. But Flicker Steps, you could use a pair of 750s. Doesn't what I mean? You could use any pair as long as they have 4 seconds on the evade, because we get right to 8 seconds here. So 2 evades resets our ultimate. This is our, what staff this is. This is our big dick staff. Big dick dammy staff. So this is where Conflagration goes for 90% increased burning damage. We get that 1.9x outright. That's ours. Taking that home. And then it also increases our Combustion. So this baby is double dipping. And it's got damage over time, which is even more double dips. But int max life, damage over time. If you are really struggling to keep up the Quacks rune, you can put Lucky Hit Restore on here, but you lose so much life that I was willing to give up attack speed for it on the gloves, because I ain't taking life off my fucking staff. You only need a double on Chance for Inferno to deal double damage, because it goes all the way to 97.5% with just a double if you get a perfect temper. If you have a really low roll, you're gonna need to triple it, and then preferably the next masterwork hit is on damage over time. So that's what we got there. And then you slot in Amethysts here, because these are really important, because this is more damage over time. Like I think I went from 6,700 to 7,400 with just 2 Amethysts. So like your masterwork crits on your gloves and your ring do matter that you hit them on dot. I didn't, so I'm missing a lot of damage, Next is Intercom. If you don't like Intercom, you can run Stormswell or Shredding Blades here. They're about the same. But Int, Glass Cannon, Endless Pyre. Evade CDR and Pyromancy attack speed. You don't need an Inferno cooldown reduction here. You're going to be capped with just the one. And there's really nothing better to take here. Talrasha and question, no, we don't want like a Stormswell ring here with, I know if you put more damage over time, it's going to boost up your combustion more, but I don't think it's worth it giving up the cooldown reduction and giving up that 75% damage. And it's just like, it's another ring you got to fucking triple crit, bro. Like, just use your Talrasha that you've been using on every build. Trust me, the damage is equivalent. You're good. Trust Daddy Lurkin. And then Vehement Brawler on a ring. Another source of GA damage over time. Attack speed and intelligence. Great stuff. More Pyro attack speed. And then an Inferno CDR. So we get 30% damage out of here. And then we're getting additional 2 alt skill ranks, which is great. The reason we don't run Starless is because we do get more damage out of this. We have equivalent attack speed from the attack speed and the Pyromancy attack speed temper. And then we don't need the RCR from Starless. And then the 50% damage is made up for by this 30% damage aspect, the 2 skill ranks, and then the damage over time affix that's increasing our combustion. This fucking destroys Starless. But I don't know if it catches up to Talrasha. 75% is a lot, but that's the gear. So let's go over our enchantments. So the build is Teleport Enchantment and Incinerate Enchantment. Incinerate Enchantment's sole purpose, 2 purposes. The first is to give us 30% DR. Very good on single target when it's burning enemies with our little sneaky snake. As you can see, it doesn't do dick shit for damage. But its second purpose is to activate our aspect of conflagration, which scales up our combustion by a lot. It's very good. It's pretty standard in burning builds that aren't Incinerate to run Incinerate Enchantment and then slot this wherever they can, preferably on the staff if possible, if there aren't better options. Our next is Teleport Enchantment. That's to make Crackling for the Convulsions passive for 20% damage, and for the Ceaseless Conduit Legendary node for 60% damage. And we do that through the Mystical Teleport node here, and we use it with Flicker Steps to reset our ultimate. We evade through an enemy, it resets our ult by 4 seconds. On single target, you will need to evade twice. So basically, you'll Inferno. Let's put a single target here. Let's put a single target. I said let's put a single target here. So you'll cast Inferno. You'll evade. You'll have to cast Firewall. You'll evade. Cast Inferno. Evade. Cast the Firewall. Evade. As you can see, if you don't press anything, you're just sitting there waiting. So Inferno. So you just alternate. You just need to perform an action in between casting an Inferno. So every 2 evades, you will have your Inferno back. But as you can see, when you have multiple, as long as you're evading correctly through 2 enemies, you know, and when they're all grouped together from Inferno, it's a lot easier. But you can just perma spam Inferno, so it's really good for mobbing. It's just, you know, I'm not even casting Firewall, but you still want to like intermittently cast the Firewall. Anything in this Firewall is going to be taking 25% more burn damage. So that's how that goes. Those are the enchantments. That's why we use them. That's why they're the best. So what are the important stats for this build? Like what am I aiming for and why? And the entire thing boils down to Flicker Steps. So you want 2 things. One, you want a 1 attack evade. You want to attack once, be able to evade, attack once, be able to evade again. And 2, you want your Inferno CDR to be around 8.5, 8 seconds. And honestly, neither of these things are difficult to do. You're not going to need a GA Shaco. And 1, I'm going to show you why. So look, I got this 21% GA, you know, CDR Talrasha. I'm going to take it off. I got nothing now. And, you know, I got some random ring. And I still have 1 attack evades. Everything's great. So every time we evade, so we got a 1 attack evade. Now, every time we evade into an enemy, it's going to reduce our ultimate cooldown by 4 seconds. So that's why it's important to be around 8. which honestly, it's not hard to get. It's really not hard to get. That's because of the Inferno CDR temper giving us so much CDR. It's so easy to hit cap. But we do want the Telrashas so that we can reduce the cooldown of our Frost Nova and our Ice Armor and stuff, even though we do like get really near cap. But the main thing here is when we're on single target, when we Inferno and then we evade, it's only, see, it only went down to 4. So what you need to do is you alternate skills and you spam evade, and then every 2 evades you reduce your Inferno so that you can cast it again. And that's how it works on bossing. On mobbing, it's just free to evade Inferno, because the Inferno is an attack. So that's really all there is to it, and it's not too crazy. These aren't Lightning Spear Gear X. It's really not too much going on. There's a lot baked into the build that makes it pretty easy. And getting a 1-attack evade with flicker steps is extremely easy because it reduces your evade by 2.5 seconds. And a side note, don't really trust the tooltip. It lies. It lies. Just trust me. You got it. The only way to test it is to go into the dummy or go outside of town and just start casting. Do you have it? You either have it or you don't. You know, either LeBron or you're not. So now we're gonna go over boss powers. So they are Cinnarat's Flames, main, and Dariel's Flaming Skull modifier, Harbinger modifier, and Flesh Reaper modifier. Side note, you need 2 crowd control duration tempers to get value out of this. Leave now if you want, but I'm going to go over why we're using each. So Cinnarat's Flames, every time we evade, we're applying some burning damage. We have a lot of generic burn multipliers in this build. It's providing, you know, it's a decent amount of damage. It's nothing to scoff at. Next, we take Indariel's Flaming Skull. This is for 20% more burn damage, and then additionally, because Combustion is scaling with damage over time, this is increasing our damage over time, and when you take it off, you'll see your Combustion go down. Mine went from 7,400 to 6,900 when I took it off. So this thing is double dipping. We're getting a lot of value out of it. Next is Harbinger. Unfortunately, this one's just a single dip. Activating your main boss power, which is every time we evade, grants 30% increased vulnerable damage for 5 seconds. So this is just a 1.3x multiplier. Next is Flesh Reaper, because this is just the last resort. This is the next best thing, because when we slot Cinnerats, we don't see an increase to our Combustion. So there's no double dipping, triple dipping like we saw with Enlightenment. It's just 25%. So Flesh Reaper at 20% is good. We're not really giving up anything by using the crowd control duration utility tempers. Everything's fine. Take your 20%, keep moving. And so this is double dipping. That's obviously why we want to take it. But I know you might ask, this has a lot of damage. Like, couldn't we get value out of taking that here and then, you know, getting the 25% here? But I mean, look at it. You're going to be here pulling enemies into the center. Where's Indariel's Flaming Skull? Doing fuck all, rotating around you, not hitting anything that you're on top of. So no, it's Cinnerats. There's get a lot of burn. It adds up. All right, Mercenaries are extremely straightforward. I like Subo for the map packs, so you can see where the enemy packs are, easier grouping. But the biggest thing here is this Molotov that he throws. He throws it a lot, and you get 30% more damage over time when it's active. And then I think he shoots out this snipe, and if he hits him with the snipe, Molotov explodes on them. So you just, you know, you're getting a lot more damage over time, all the time. And then Reinforcement, the meta seems to be Field of Languish. Altkin here, you know, I just do it when I cast Ice Armor, whatever. But it put out this little area, and then enemies in it deal 20% less damage. The build's already really tanky, but this also helps. All right, let's go over this skill tree. I'm gonna try and rip through it. You're gonna learn a lot. So 2 points in Firebolt just to progress. I go after the 30% DR from Destructive Incinerate, very strong on bosses. And then you go for the Greater Fireball so that you have an Execute. Very good on the elites when there's only, like, say, 1 or 2 left. It can be hard to get those evade resets, especially on single target, because you got to evade twice. So this is nice to just nuke them out. Next, we go down here. We don't have any points in Flame Shield because there's no Mystical Flame Shield snapshot, and we have Harlequin Crest, so we're getting a free point for it. I have the bare minimum in Teleport because it doesn't affect my 1-attack Teleport evade. And then we're after Mystical Teleport here to make Crackling for a Paragon board and for Convulsions for 20% more damage. Glass Cannon, because damage is damage, baby. And then I have Mystical Ice Armor, just the bare minimum just to reach it. 15% more damage to frozen enemies when I have an ice armor. Something to note, but we'll go on next. Mystical Frost Nova, so that when I Nova, enemies take 15% more damage for 4 seconds, increase to 8 against bosses. I'm pretty close to 4.44% because of that Frost Nova cooldown reduction roll that I have. And something to note is that you have 3 flex points in Frost Nova. If you do not have close to a 6-second ice armor duration, you're going to have to put them in Icy Veil. As you can see, you can get upwards of 32% increased duration, so that'll take you all the way to an 8-second ice armor. But you want, you know, it's just gear dependent, but I don't need it. Just the 8% increased duration is good enough, so I slot it all into Frost Nova to drop it down. Next, I take Protection. Sometimes your ice armor gets broken, so you're still going to need that nice barrier. And then I don't need any mana regen, not really making conjurations, but I do like Mana Shield because I am spending mana when I use Quacks. I was going to say, I'm not spending it on Firewall because of the Inferno, but because of Quacks, I am spending 100 mana all the time, and it counts for Mana Shield. So this is a permanent, another 40% DR, and that's why the build feels so tanky. It's just all these things added together, like the Destructive Incinerate, you know, Mana Shield, Shaco, the build in Shroud of False Death. Like, this is a really fucking tanky build. As I've said, Icy Veil, bit of a flex with Frost Nova for your ice armor cooldown. Go in for Inner Flames, 24% damage while healthy. We don't give a shit. Devouring Blaze doesn't work for this build, and we don't care about Crippling Flames. The bare minimum Firewall, because I just don't really care about its damage. I'm spamming Inferno, and Inferno just deals a lot more damage. And then I'm going for Wizards so that I can get more mana regen. The reason we run Firewall is for Enhanced Firewall. Enemies take 25% more burn damage while standing inside the Firewall. And then I believe mages, you know, I believe if an enemy were to leave the Firewall, mages here, I do know, she's playing. You can't see her, but she's going after my hand. They continue burning for 3 seconds after leaving Firewall, but I don't think they're going to take the Enhanced Firewall damage because they're not standing in it. I don't know. This game's stupid. Alright, so we take all these Frost passives. Increased damage with Frost on the bar, increased damage with Vulnerable, increased damage to Frozen from our Frost Nova. Everything's all Gucci. We max out Inferno. 5, yeah, so we're going to have 14 ranks total when when our Vex rune is going off. Inferno is going to pull enemies to the center, so we don't need Raiment. And then we're going to get 50% more damage with Pyromancy skills when Inferno is active, and that's including itself. We take Endless Pyre, we max it out. 40% more burn damage. This 200% bonus here is really never going to activate. It's kind of dead, but the burn damage is still really nice. 1 point in warmth. That's nice, just for good healing. And then we come down here to Soulfire. That's the whole thing with Soulfire and Intercom. You want to stand still so that you deal more damage. So you may as well run an aspect where you stand still and deal more damage. Elemental Synergies for damage. Evocation for cooldown reduction. And then Convulsions for the 20% damage. We're just pathing through here, get a little bit of DR, even more. And then last but not least, our 7400% Combustion. Crispy. Alright, Paragon. 12th take. Bro, you got this. Alright, so we start with Tactician. Then we go into Pyromaniac. Then we go into Torch. Then we go into Elementalist. And then we go into Flame Feeder. Starter, Tactician, pretty standard glyph. 15% damage, another 10%. Rare Note Booster. Great stuff. Burning Instinct. Very important. 90% damage. Also boosts Combustion. Double dip. Then we go, there's some nice damage to Burning here. Some nice Elite DR. Very tanky. Very demure. Then we go into Pyromaniac. That gives us 18% damage and another 10%. And then it's a Rare Note Booster, and it increases our damage to burning enemies, which boosts Combustion. Double dips, baby. We got some more double dippage up in here with this damage to burning. And then we have this fat amount from Fundamental Release. So you're getting 50% damage for simply burning enemies. Then you're getting 40% damage with your ultimate. Boom shakalaka. Next, Torch. Double dips. We're getting the raw added burning damage. It's increasing our Combustion. And then we're getting 25% X damage when we're near a bunch of burning enemies. And then 10% damage. Next, we go into Enchantment Master. This one's a little lower than the rest, but it still has value. So we have 1 fire enchantment. This isn't an enlightenment build. There's no familiar triple dip bullshit. You're just getting a raw 1.4x damage from having Incinerate enchantment, but your enchantments are 30% stronger, which means you get more teleport enchantments, and it's a lot easier to get that one attack, teleport, evade. This board's really nice. It's got a lot of DR. I love my tanky builds. Solves your resists, max life, and it's got some great attack speed. This is where I slot Elementalist. It's a rare node booster. There's no double dips with any of these, damage to elites or non-fizz. We're going to get 10% damage out of this additional bonus. We're going to get another 10% out of just the non-physical. No double dips there like Enlightenment. Last but not least is Flame Feeder, another very important glyph. This is give us our damage to burning. So normally Torch damage with, Flame Feeder damage 2. These are normally our 2 stats that increase Combustion. So these are pretty standard in burn builds. We like it on Ceaseless Conduit because we can get 74 dex, so we can get a ton of it. We don't really care about these magic nodes, so it doesn't even matter if you can hit the Rex or not. But our last legendary node is Ceaseless Conduit, just for a raw 1.6x damage. And what's nice about this board is there's some max lightning res, there's some max life, and there's some all res. And then, if you run out of points, who gives a shit? You don't need this crit chance. It doesn't matter. So it's a nice end cap board because we don't really care about any of the magic or rare nodes if you're hurting. But we always have Crackling in the build, so we're going to get 60% damage out of it all the time because we're making so much when we teleport, and we're always teleporting. I love the board. I think it's one of my... I love making burn boards. They're always fun, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I think this is my last build for Season 8. Didn't really even want to come back and do it, but we did it because it caught fire. But we got a campfire coming up on the 22nd, so I'll probably do a review on that, and then I'll probably play a little bit in the PTR, and then do a tier list and such. But I need to spend time with my gal. It's been real, but I'll see you guys.